Have you ever read a book you had zero expectations going into and it totally surprised you in the best mind blowing way? Well, that was Atmosphere for me, my first Taylor Jenkins Reid novel, following a groundbreaking female astronaut narrated by the amazing Julia Whalen. And this will definitely be my first of many by Taylor. So let's chat about my reading journey through this book. I'm going to try to keep it as spoiler free as possible, but oh my goodness, what an emotional roller coaster I went on. So, first, let's talk about what it is. Atmosphere is a historical fiction novel set during the early space race era, following a woman breaking barriers to become one of the first female astronauts in the 1980s. But this book, it isn't just about space, which is what makes it so beautiful. It is about love, loss, self discovery, ambition, societal expectations, and the relationships that really make us who we are, sometimes in completely unexpected ways. And we'll get deeper into all of that, but I love that there are so many deep things and themes explored in this masterful narration story, and what it means to be a woman trying to break into a male dominated world, the quiet strength and hardship of being one of the first people to even do this thing in the first place, and how we can't always choose who we love or who becomes family in our lives. Also, friends, isn't it true that success almost always takes a team? Have you tried to do things by yourself, or do you know people that have tried to do things by themselves and perhaps kind of run people over along the way? We're going to talk a lot more about that. Blessings that come in completely unexpected ways, and how humanity has a great ability to deeply disappoint you, as well as show up in beautiful ways to restore your hope in people. So, what really got me in this story was not just the story that I was expecting to hear, because all I knew going into it was it is about a woman going into space, right? I picked it up thinking, oh, it's just a little historical fiction, but it was way more. And if you have heard anything Julia Whalen, she just does an amazing, phenomenal job. So I will read anything that she narrates. But as someone for me who works in the corporate world, I really connected, first of all, on this way that Atmosphere showed the extra weight that women carry when trying to prove themselves in their jobs, in their careers, in different things that they do. There's the subtle or not so subtle politics, the expectations of women, the sacrifices, the ways in which we are told to keep quiet in certain things, just accept it because it is just, comments here or how we're treated differently, things like that. But Taylor Jenkins Reid wrote it in a way that felt very real, emotional, and raw. And like I said, I was an emotional roller coaster, but there were so many thoughts, so many feelings that came up in me. And a good story really does that, right? It just builds up all this stuff in you. It also shows how things change. So there was a character named Donna who becomes a mom throughout this, and she is also a female astronaut. Her husband is also an astronaut, but there were very different expectations on her as they became parents. They're both parents, but one is expected to continue, one is not, right? There's different questions asked of them. And is that not a completely true statement, even to this day, of how women and men are thought of in a workplace, right? And then there's the love story. It's not necessarily immediately front and center in your face, but there is an overall theme of love in all the different ways, in family, in romantic, in friendship, in all of these different ways, in coworkers. It is so powerful, and it makes you think about all the lines that society draws and what it takes to love people across them in all the different ways. And I'm trying to keep it as spoiler free as possible. If you want a spoiler version, let me know in the comments, because I'm happy to keep talking about the books that I absolutely love, this one included. It really makes you think about the lines that society draws and what it takes for you to love across them, right? Or what is worth fighting for? What is worth risking it all for? And who is going to actually show up to support you when you don't expect it? Sometimes it's really disappointing when the people that you expect to show up don't, but then you also see the beautiful people that do, that you don't expect, and it restores your hope in people, right? And this story just shows that in the most tender, bold, heartbreaking, and heart putting together kind of ways. Now, I also love the theme of us being better together as people, right? As women, as people, we thrive in community. And I talk about this all the time. And this is also why I do what I do in helping moms thrive, right? Because you could be the smartest person in the room, you could be the most resourceful person in the room, you could be the best at something, but that won't matter if you isolate yourself or you trample people over along the way. And I have seen this in my corporate journey. I have seen this in my personal journey. People see how you are. And unfortunately, sometimes people do get rewarded. This is like the good versus evil thing, right? But thankfully, a lot of times others are turned off by it and people do not get rewarded. And I hope that society will continue to um, hold this right and reward those that treat people right on the way up and not the opposite, people that bring others up with them, right? I am big on learning from the people around me and bettering each other through the process. So this was just beautifully reflected in the book, and I loved seeing it in all the different layers, from kids to adults to multi-generations, and how strength doesn't have to be solitary. And vulnerability can actually make you so much stronger, not just you, but as a whole in the group, right? That message really, really, really hit home. Seriously, I was a bawling mess as our female main character found herself through all these highs and lows throughout the book and truly finds herself and her place in the world, in her home life, in her work life, just in society. This was my first Taylor Jenkins Reid book. Like I said, and absolutely not my last. I've got a bunch on my TBR now, so let me know where I should go next. If you have read a bunch of Taylor Jenkins Reid's books, or if you want to read them together, Daisy Jones, Evelyn Hugo is a huge one, Malibu Rising. There are so many that have gotten amazing, amazing reviews. Help me pick where to go next. And if you've read Atmosphere, tell me what you thought, because if you haven't guessed, I love talking about books and learning what other people think, and I value your opinion. We could have differing opinions. Maybe you hated it and I want to know why. Or if you loved it, I want to know what you took out of it, because we all come with different experiences that make our reading experience very different, and we're better together, like I said in this book or in this video. So you might be surprised if you weren't planning to read this and you add it in the best possible way. So let me know. And until next time, happy reading, friends.